time again that our folks are first responders out there in times of need. And that's what we're going to be talking about here is what's all going on in the different states. How do we pull all this information together to really build a pathway to look into the future, and how do we design a map on where we're going to end up at? You know, what Keith Holmes is doing in Philadelphia on first responders. What about fracking? What impact does that have in this industry with safety concerns, environmental concerns? Is anybody doing anything on fracking? And I think you're going to hear from Mike Coleman and some of the things that they're trying to do on trying to get some of this work. Contracting, is that an issue here in this room? As you can see, they like to farm it all out to be all gypsies running the gas industry, you know, with no, so to speak, base of employees. These are issues that we have to deal with. Safety issues, what California has done, what the locals out there with SB 5, Bill Julia is here. You're going to hear a tremendous amount of knowledge in this room. And I think this is something that we have to pull together to create that pathway moving forward. That's why it's so important. I know y'all just came off of that interunion gas conference, but this is personalized. This is what utility workers need to look at to build the strength that we need moving forward. And I see Brother Rittenhouse over here in the room. I want to give Charlie credit for helping with this agenda, helping put things together. And mostly, Charlie, for not taking my room this time, so. Don't
have to get Mike.
But anyway, hey, we've got a lot of good information here today. I want people to make this as most interactive as we can so that we can take away all the knowledge that's needed. And brothers and sisters, I can't leave this podium without getting into the political climate that we're in. If you think about labor as a whole, it's labor's Waterloo this year, if you really think about it. You look at the attacks, and it's not a hidden agenda anymore. It's out there. That extreme right-wing agenda wants to end the labor movement as we know it today, brothers and sisters. Every one of you, your jobs, your way of living is under attack. They don't want you to have health care benefits. They don't want you to have a pension. It's that 1%, that 99%. You know, people say, why? This is the backbone of this country. It's that short-sighted greed out there when it's taking over this country, this nation. We have many fights with contracts going on. So a lot of you in the room in here are going through some bitter struggles to get a collective bargaining agreement. We've got future contracts coming up. We have internal flux sometimes within our own unions. In Indiana, one of our states that just went right to work. A treasurer out there embezzled $30,000. You don't think that they don't hold that up now and say, this is why we went to right to work? You know how many members will probably lose right to work? Just give me a reason, right? Right. So that's another challenge that we have to face with, not only fighting these employers, not only fighting for good contracts, but we have safety issues out there. We have issues with the politicians that we're dealing out there. We're fighting on all fronts, you know? So you can see, we have to roll up our sleeves. We have to step up to the plate. We have to do things in ways we've never done it before. We have to take on these challenges, and I know you all probably feel like you're up to your neck in alligators out there every day, but we have to think smarter and do things smarter. Let me talk to you a little bit about the Power for America Training Trust. We just made a full-time position, not paid by the union, but paid by the fund, to manage that fund daily operations. You're going to hear from Rick Passarelli in Checklist 18007 and what they're doing with the fund. Consumers Energy, there's some representatives there. What we're looking at doing with them on training, skills training. Brothers and sisters, as right to work comes into these states, if union members are getting their skills training through the union, they're more apt to contain and continue to be good union members. Right to work can come in, it would have less impact because they're getting their benefits, their skills, their training, their apprenticeship programs through the union. So you see, that's why it's so important that we focus on our skills training, our apprenticeship programs, our organizing opportunities and activities. This all comes together with political action. Our regional conferences literally are going to be political action conferences this year. We have to get these senators in these states, these House members elected. I think if we focus on them, the presidency will just follow through because we'll get the members out to vote. These are the things that we need to do this year. We have many challenges ahead of us. We want to maintain and keep these good paying jobs, and we want to build on them. We want to create more opportunities for folks. That's what this conference is all about. So yeah, it's about gas workers. Yeah, it's about safety. Yeah, it's about first responders. Yeah, it's about right to work. Yeah, it's about getting the right politicians elected this year. It's all of these things. Everything we do moving forward, we have to be in survival mode. But we have to be proactive. I'd rather be driving this ship, guiding us into the future, rather than just continually putting out fires. Let us start the fires. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
Don't you want to start the fires?
Yeah.
That's what we have to do. I'd like to bring the Executive Vice President up to say a few words, Steve Vanstoolen. You see Steve's here, John's here, a lot of the staff is here, because it's so important, this industry, and where we have to head, that we all hear and be a part of this discussion, this debate, and from the other speakers to learn from them, so we can make that roadmap like I've talked about. So with that, Steve, Executive Vice President Steve.
Well, good morning, brothers and sisters. You can jot down things that you might want to talk about, but we follow President Langford. He usually hits most of them, so I just say a few words. When it comes to right to work, you know, we are the last line of defense as organized labor for the working class. Who is going to defend the rights of workers if right to work comes in, the wrong politicians get elected, and we are under a constant assault? Nobody. We're not going to be able to rely on the Republicans. Look what they're doing. They want to. Mitt Romney, what did he say just the other day? He said he's not worried about the poor. They've got a safety net. But they're the same son of a guns, I'll be nice, that are trying to take all those safety nets away. Any safety net that the working poor have, the Republicans get control of this fall, they're all going to be gone. Regulation, we're here for pipeline safety. What do they say about regulation? They need to have less. What got us into this position? When they start deregulating everything. So where are we going to be if we don't do our best to get the right people elected? Yeah, we can all point fingers at who's in office. Doesn't matter if it's a governor, a senator, a president, whoever. But what is the best for this country? What is the best for our membership? What's the best for our union? We need to get the message out that we've got to have people in place that will help us protect what we have. This whole thing, I mean, everybody in this room has gone through contract negotiations. They're bitter. They're horrible right now. There's a lot of fights out there. They get worse each year, I believe, because it's become politically correct to take things away. It's supported by the people, the right wing in government, that say, if they have more than you do, you need to take it away from them. It should be, if you have more than I've got, then I want to get to where you are. But we've got the reverse going on. We've got to stop that, brothers and sisters. We can't let that happen. Where's OSHA going to go? It's hard enough to get an OSHA violation through the way it is today. Where's it going to go in the future? Without OSHA? I mean, one of the things that unions fought for all these years was safety in the workplace. It's one of the founding things that we need. If we leave it up to management, the only reason they're interested in safety is because it helps their bottom line. They don't want to pay for the employee getting hurt. Yeah, there might be a few employers out there that think, that have a little bit of a heart, a little bit of conscience. When someone gets hurt, they feel bad about it. The first thing they look at is what's it going to cost. We have to be diligent in safety. We have to be diligent. I know I've heard it from members. You guys hear it from members. That rule is ridiculous. Why do I have to follow that? That's stupid. It takes more time. Every rule that's written about safety is because someone lost a finger, a hand, an arm, an eye, a life. But yet, for those same rules, we have pushback. We shouldn't have pushback on those rules. Follow the rules. We're paid by the hour. There's no reason not to follow those rules. If it's gonna bring you home to your family every night, it's gonna get you through your working career and get you off to retirement with all of these, both legs, both eyes, enjoy your family, why not follow the rules? Why not follow those safety guidelines? Because those are the things that other people didn't go from. We gotta try to do the best we can to protect what we have. We've gotta elect the right politicians. We gotta work safe, we gotta work smart. And with that, we will have a better life. But first and foremost, let's get the right people elected this fall. And with that, I think next up,
Joyzy. And to be at a gas conference also because I spent about 20 years in gas operations in Con Edison back in New York. And that was with the, we call it the gas thing. You guys would use the flame ionization pack there in the car and look for leaks and take that out of the car and sometimes it looked like a big feeder bag you had on the front end. You put it on the backpack and you check the services up the side of the building or wherever up on the mountainside. And you know, so we've all seen firsthand the tragedy and what natural gas can do when it's not. These pipelines aren't properly maintained, people aren't properly trained. You know, Mike mentioned San Bruno. This had to be really the most violent explosion that I think anybody could remember. You know, we lost a member just recently too, back in Philadelphia last year. I remember back in 1989, there was a pipeline explosion in the Bronx. Someone who worked in the same facility as me, Louis Seminario, he never came back. He was just blown to bits. The flame from that explosion was about 6 stories high. And it was similar to, not nearly as violent as San Bruno, but it was maybe 3 or 4 or 5 blocks around. All the cars were incinerated. You couldn't get near a valve to shut it down. It must have been 5 blocks away when they got to a valve to shut that down. But one thing we all know, that's the same no matter where we work, is that, you just mentioned earlier, when you have a for-profit company running these, that are charging these pipelines, profit always comes before safety. They can tell you what they want, they can have all the safety groups that they want, but profits come first. And that's something that's got to change. That great, legislation that you guys will be hearing about in California, SB 705, the groundbreaking legislation, that's a blueprint for the country. This is something that we need to push wherever we are, as you guys mentioned earlier about politics. We get these things done when we have the right people elected now. We got the wrong people up there in the state houses, down in DC. You're not getting anything done. It'll just get worse. A good example, we chatted last night about how these companies put profits over people. You remember the issue with the Ford Pinto, and there were people being incinerated in that car, and the bean counters in Ford figured out the solution was to put a bladder inside the gas tank, and they figured out what that would cost versus possible lawsuits in the future, and they decided to let people continue to be incinerated in their car, figuring that that would cost them less. The lawsuits would be cheaper than to retrofit all of these vehicles. So this is what you're dealing with these companies. Another good example of that, in 2006, there was a blackout in Queens, New York. That was about 11 days. All the utility workers were out there working 24 hours trying to put the service back. People throwing stuff at them. Wasn't pretty, people without refrigeration, air conditioning in the middle of a heat wave in the middle of the summer in New York, and it gets hot in New York. So after that, and they get the power restored. I remember Harry Farrell, president of the local, kept telling me how he had a discussion with one of the higher-ups in the utility about that, and how he reminded them, and he said, hey, I've been telling you guys to split that network, right? Which would have put less strain on that particular part of Queens. He says, I told you guys to do that 15 years ago. I've been telling you every time I run into you since. And now guess what? Well, now that that's done, now that those people lived through that blackout, they wanted to split the network. They had no choice. They knew they had to do it. But the answer from the utility was, yeah, but look at how many years we got out of the system. That's how they play it. They play it to stretch it out as far as they can, to get away with as much as they can. And it's up to everybody in this room and all the rest of our members to hold their feet to the fire, to elect the people that need to be elected, that are going to be on the side of the public, on the side of working people. You know, is a slogan we have, right? That we represent people in the utility industry. And you know, Mike mentioned some companies that we go after. And because we believe, and we go after them for what they do with the public as well. And because we believe if they're not servicing the public properly, and they're giving the public their back end, imagine what it's like to work for those folks, right? So, I mean, it's not a horror story where everybody works. I mean, there are some good pockets of places, but I'll give you another example. It has to do with a company, I won't mention the name, but the name of the company rhymes with Southern California Gas. But also was being you know, done with systems of safety. All right. A while back, I know systems of safety was introduced to Southern California Gas, and they were skeptical about it. They wanted more information on it. They wanted to know, well, where else has this worked, and what other utilities used it, and that was provided to them. And they got written statements from the CEOs and such saying this is the greatest thing we've ever experienced with safety. It's improved safety. Our numbers have really improved. That's what it's all about. And this was part of a grant that the company was going to only have to pay 25 cents on a dollar for the program. Right? Big deal. Right? Well, typical of a lot of these utilities, they wanted control. They wanted complete control. Or they wanted to throw something into the deal that they knew we could never accept. And that was they were going to have monitors monitoring our folks in the classroom. They'd have a group of management people sitting in the corner writing down who knows what. And this is our program. Nowhere else in the country, that gets, you know, I mean, to show you how bad that particular company is, nowhere else in the country did they pull this. Nowhere else in the country did they put these demands in front of safety, right? And of course, there was a concern, as Jamie Simon brought up, that hey, maybe they want to steal the curriculum. I wouldn't put it past them. You know, we actually offered to let them rotate different managers in and out if they wanted to kind of get a grasp of the systems of safety and see how it works. No, we want the same people every day. We want them in there every day. And the whole idea of systems of safety is that you know, people it's run by the union, that people feel comfortable, that they can say what they want, that there aren't managers in the room. That's how it works, you know? You don't need a manager to look eyeball you and you be some, you know, a union member can worry about what he's saying, you know? That's how it works. It flushes a lot of good stuff out, you know? So these are the things that we need to do. It's unfortunate, but whenever profit is put into something, it takes precedence over everything else. And we all, as union members, we all know that. So, you know, with Mike had mentioned the regional conferences coming up for Region 5, which I imagine a lot of you from here, you know, that's going to be in June. And that's going to be right not too far from here, it's over in California, it's going to be in LA. But all the regional conferences this year are going to have to do with legislative action. You know, training folks how to get involved. You know, the whole blueprint for that, because we need to do that. We need to show our members that. And I get the sense that members are kind of getting it now. They're realizing what's at stake. They really, really are. Maybe not all of them, but that's what we need to do. You know, we all do, you know, I've always said, we do organizing. All unions should be organizing and wanting to grow. But it's the internal organizing that in a lot of cases is just as important, if not sometimes more important than that. Keeping our members informed, So I will leave you with this, that, well, let me ask you one more question before I go. With political action and such, we need a war chest to do that. We have a national coat fund that does that. How many folks in the room contribute to coat? Okay, how many people done it? I don't have to follow anybody down the hallway with a coat card later? Okay, that's good. All right, I could use the exercise, but, well, listen, it's great to be here. It really looks like it's shaping up to really be a really good conference.